Alright everyone, welcome back to a year in the TikTok of Jaebae. So we're gonna pick up where the video cut off essentially last time. It's been 2 weeks though since I've covered Jaebae, so I have a feeling I'll be able to catch up to where I had been fairly quickly. We're of course not gonna be covering all of these because I know some of these are just like paid sponsorships. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into this.
Places I'm traveling in 2024 as a plus-size super fat traveler and creator. Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Las Vegas, Nevada. Belize City, Belize. Tulum, Mexico. Guatemala. Destin, Florida. New Orleans, Louisiana. Atlanta, Georgia. Palm Springs, California. Austin, Texas. Miami, Florida. Nashville, Tennessee. Puerto Rico. San Diego, California, Chicago, St. Lucia, Park City, Utah, New York City, Banff, Canada, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, the Bahamas, Boston, Massachusetts. Follow along for more from us about the fact.
Okay. And then I'm pretty sure this is one of those that was pulled from like her Instagram or something, and so this last extended portion here is just her logo. Um, but can I just say, like, that was an insane fucking list. That was an insane fucking list. I almost want to count how many different places that was, both inside and outside the US. I don't even really care about domestic versus international travel at this point because there was just a shit ton of places that she was going. And I'm just like, do you fucking realize how extraordinarily privileged you are to be able to go to all those places in what I assume is mostly leisure, like for leisure purposes? Like, she says she started her journey as a full-time digital nomad. And, like, Jake and I are embarking on our brand new journey of full-time digital nomads, which means my guess means that she's either using only money she makes from TikTok, or like they only have online sources of income, which can definitely be legitimate um jobs or stuff. And don't get me wrong, being an influencer is a legitimate job, but I think you guys understand what I mean. Like, it's not the 9 to 5 work that she would have to otherwise work, and she can go to all these places. It's one of those things where it's like, one, I'm sorry, I don't care what she's done here. You can't convince me that there isn't some sort of family money at play here, or like an insane amount of debt, one of the two. I genuinely don't understand how you can have the ability to go to all these places, both inside your own country and outside of your country, national and international travel, and claim to be a victim because the planes aren't super comfortable because you ate yourself to morbid obesity, and therefore you're a victim somehow, and like you are oppressed when you have more money than anyone that I know to be able, more money and free time than anyone I know to be able to travel to all these places. And perhaps this is comparing apples to oranges, and I'm willing to accept that to a certain extent my own jealousy is leaking through at the sheer amount of money, like disposable income and free time that she has. And I have a fair amount of free time, don't get me wrong. Like, I have a lot of free time given how my job is structured. But even this is more than what I get. Like, this is insane. So, would definitely like your opinions on this, because it's an accessibility for all to her. But like, I don't know. I want to know your guys' opinion on these, because holy shit. So, the caption was like, "Are you looking for a place to stay?" And this is the Tahiti Village Resort and Spa in Las Vegas. And it does say paid partnership, so perhaps part of the reason why she gets to travel to all these places is for paid sponsorships. That could be an option, in which case it's part of a job for her. It still feels very privileged in my opinion, but perhaps I'm just being a hater. I'd love your opinions. So this is a compilation without music from the looks of it. Yeah, sound isn't available. Um, and she keeps going on about this transitioning into life as a full-time plus-size digital nomad. So did they like give up their house and are just or like wherever they were staying, did they get rid of like all their possessions and stuff and are just living a nomadic life? Is that what's going on? That doesn't seem like something any plus size person I've seen would do. Not that she wouldn't necessarily do that, but I also just have a hard time fathoming that as someone who is very much a homebody.
Feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you. Only you can let it in.
And we're just gonna it doesn't look yeah. So it was just a small thing, and then the rest of this is just the icon. Um, so this travel is for everybody. I don't know. It just time and time again, this just seems like a weird hill to die on, in my opinion. Like talking about inclusive travel, but not even inclusive in terms of accessibility. We're talking inclusive in terms of comfort because there are accessible options for the obese and even morbidly obese. They're just not necessarily ideal for full comfort, although, from my understanding, flights, any sort of air travel is not designed for anyone's comfort, really, in mind. But we'll keep moving on. I just think that this is for me, I guess who am I to judge what your priorities are in life? But this just there's something about advocating for not she likes to frame it as access for other individuals, but in reality it's comfort. That's because we've seen there's plenty of morbidly obese people that fly on both national and international flights. This isn't about accessibility, this is about comfort, and that she's like dressing up as accessibility. So like if you can fit in one seat or even two and you just have to buy that extra seat, that's not an accessibility issue in my mind. If you guys think that I'm wrong about this, please let me know. But if there's a handicap bathroom on the plane that you can use, that's the accessibility portion. Like there's accessible options for the morbidly obese. So I just, it feels like such an out of touch thing to champion for me.
We need to have a conversation about Ozempic. It was originally developed to manage diabetes, but has since become a go to solution for intentional weight loss. It's been fueled by aggressive marketing campaigns and celebrity endorsements. If you or someone you care about is experiencing severe side effects after taking Ozempic, like severe vomiting, you might be entitled to financial compensation.
So I just realized this is a paid uh partnership with Allied Law. I don't know how I feel about this. Don't get me wrong, I think that there was definitely an over marketing of Ozempic. I have mixed feelings about it. It's a tool, just like other things. Is it best for everyone? Not necessarily. I do think that it should be more heavily monitored than it is. I have a family member that is using Ozempic, and she was able to go on, put in a request, doctor signed off. There's no doctor oversight for this, which makes me nervous, but like that's the reality of Ozempic that people can get this drug with I mean they can get the drug, they can get the needles, they can get everything that they need without ever stepping foot into a doctor's office. And that's kind of where I have an issue with it. Because it is a medication that does have the possibility for serious issue, and I would prefer a mandatory doctor oversight of it. Now, does this limit accessibility? Yes, but I don't know. I do have mixed feelings about Ozempic. um, and it's easy access. So, like, that's its own thing. I do think that I find it very strange, though, that someone, like, who's clearly anti-weight loss, and that's fine, using this as, hey, were you wrong about Ozempic? Here are some attorneys. I don't know. I don't know. I feel some sort of way about this, and I don't really know how to articulate it. Um, but there's something like I'm a little bit iffy about how Ozempic is treated, but I'm also a little iffy about this marketing for attorneys. So I'm gonna pass this one off to you guys. What do you think? What are your opinions on this?
What I ate for breakfast, fat edition. Bagel and cream cheese. Large iced coffee. Chocolate donut with sprinkles.
Okay, this is an insane breakfast. That Dunkin' Donuts, was chock full of sugar. That was like coffee flavored sugar. On top of this chocolate donut with sprinkles, and then the bagel with cream cheese, which is all carbs. Now, I'm not against having a bagel with cream cheese for breakfast. I'm not even necessarily against, on occasion, having a donut for breakfast, although I don't recommend it. But the bagel with cream cheese, which is primarily carbs, coupled with the coffee flavored sugar, that was a like very large Dunkin' Donuts coffee, plus the donut, that is all carbs and sugar first thing in the morning. Like again, the bagel with cream cheese, perfectly fine. Better even if you add eggs for like a nice solid protein source, make it nice because I think I'm pretty sure the cream cheese like has a fair amount of fat in it. So that way you're getting all of your macros. You're getting a little bit of fat, you're getting some carbs, you're getting some protein with eggs. Perfect. And then like either water or a coffee that does not have however much sugar that Dunkin' Donuts coffee has. It's the sugary coffee and the donut that's really it's not it's just a bad idea. Like I'm not against having carby breakfast. I am a little bit against having like a sugar laden breakfast, you know? Okay, so what I eat in a day, bullshit, like that was the only thing what I ate for breakfast. Yeah, that's it. That's all that is. And can I just say I don't like the close up of her face chewing. I don't know why, but it bugs me.
If you or someone you know has taken Ozempic, Trulicity, Wegovy, or something similar, stop scrolling. You could be entitled to compensation. Have you experienced?
So as you guys can guess, this is another paid sponsorship, paid partnership. This one, though, does not have the company that I can see, which is strange, which makes me think they maybe pulled it. I don't know. But I don't want to watch an ad, so we're going to move on.
853 million people fly on U.S. airlines every year. I surveyed thousands of travelers, and over 86% of them believe the airline industry is not plus-size friendly. This has to change. In 2023, I initiated a petition demanding that air travel become more inclusive. Over 35,000 people have signed it. The fight is far from over. Since launching the petition, it's become even more clear that society unfairly believes plus size. Individuals shouldn't travel comfortably or without stigma. However, this
I'm sorry, but again, from my understanding, no one travels comfortably by air travel unless you're willing to put out like significant amounts of money. And this 86% of people that you've surveyed, you have a very biased sample given that your whole TikTok, your whole social media presence is around fat acceptance and a haze. So you're going to have a biased sample. Now, this 35,000 signatures on your petition, really, on the grand scheme of things, isn't that much. Even if you're looking exclusively at the US market, it's still not that much. 35,000 is like a drop in the bucket compared to how many people travel by air each year in the US alone. So, like, and this whole thing about plus size people traveling comfortably and without stigma. So again, I think this is can pretty easily be managed. Most people I don't think are gonna think twice about you for the most part on a plane as long as you are not spilling into their seat. You don't smell, wear some deodorant and stuff because in an enclosed space, anyone who has BO is ruining things for everybody. And as long as you're kind of minding your own business, most people aren't going to care too much unless you something about you is disrupting their ability to fly. Being able to travel comfortably, again, I go back to pretty much no one can travel comfortably. That's the nature of airlines. They'll squeeze you for every penny that they can, and we all just kind of deal. That's been my understanding.
Only fuels my determination to fight for inclusive travel. Plus-size individuals won't be deterred, and I'm committed to advocating for change until it's achieved. Travel is for everybody and nobody should be discriminated against. Sign the petition at change.org/plus-size travel.
So here's the thing. There's a difference between something not being catered to who you are, be that through height or weight or religious belief or what have you. That is not the same thing as discrimination. All right? Just because, like, an argument can be made that because the school's end of year break, winter break, falls around Christmas, it's designed to fall before Christmas Eve, and we have those 2 weeks off. It's a very Christian centric break, where there's no like designated breaks like that for Eid or even Hanukkah or Rosh Hashanah or Diwali or any of those. The kids will sometimes just not show up to school that day, but there is no sanctioned school break for those holidays. Our holidays tend to be somewhat Christian centric. Even spring break tends to fall around Easter. Not always, but sometimes it does. Um, there can also be an argument for it falling around like farming schedules because that originally the reason why American kids have summer break off was so that originally in schools most kids help their family on farms. Summer was the big harvest season, so there was a summer break so kids could help their family on the farms. Not super relevant today, but there was a reason behind that. But even so, if you take into consideration some of these things, it does look a little bit more Christian and westernized focus. That does not mean that it is discriminatory against people of other faiths. Is it ideal that it falls around Christmas? I mean, it kind of depends. It's also like the end of the year when there's families doing a lot of things around the end of the year. So that's also a reason that they have those 2 weeks off at the end of the year. It's just there's a bunch of different arguments that can be made, but the argument, just as some things are designed for the general majority, it does not mean that it is inherently oppressive or discriminatory against the minority. You know what I mean? It can be, but simply because there are standard seating sizes for the average weight person traveling on those flights does not mean that it is inherently discriminatory against plus size people. It just wasn't designed for them. There's a difference. There is a difference, and I feel like that difference is lost with any discussion when you're having discussions with FAs, and it drives me a little fucking nuts. All right, so there are captions here that say things that'll make me act up on a flight as a plus size traveler. Someone intentionally being rude to someone over their body size, someone kicking my seat for the entirety of the flight. So, act up on a flight as a plus size traveler. I would assume this would make most people act up a little bit with someone kicking their seat. Like, that's not inherently because you're plus size, but we're going to move on. Someone being rude to any passenger unnecessarily. There's just assholes around. It's not specific to plus size. I don't know. The qualifying as a plus size traveler feels like it gives the impression that these are unique to plus size travelers when they're not, but maybe that wasn't her intent. Someone being unkind to flight attendants, hearing somebody comment on mine or someone else's weight. I don't know. I think that, I mean, people make comments on just about anything. Don't get me wrong, it's not nice and I don't endorse it, but you kind of got to decide what battles you're going to pick, you know?
After 4 years, the time has come to fly without oxygen. What if I have a medical emergency on the plane? What if I'm not strong enough? What if I cause an emergency landing? What if this doesn't work? What if everyone online is right? What if I can never travel again? No, forget that. No matter what they say and no matter what it looks like, travel is for everybody.
This like really pisses me off and I can't even I'm having a hard time even articulating why it pisses me off so bad. So, yes, you're traveling without oxygen, which I can understand why that's scary for you. Uh, to turn this into no, I'm being a fighter, honey. You're the reason you have well, maybe not. Was JP the one that had pulmonary hypertension, which I believe is more genetic than it is due to external factors? I could be wrong, but I can't remember if she's the one that has pulmonary hypertension or not. Uh, in which case, if she does have pulmonary hypertension, then I don't understand why you would go without the oxygen. I don't really understand that part. That's not really explained well in this because it is meant to show how she is fighting against discrimination, I think. I think that's what the whole point of this is, and it fails a bit because it just seems like her being a champion against something that no one was against. Exactly. So, well, we're gonna finish watching this part real quick. So it doesn't look like there was anything really added to that. The description thing here says, after relying on supplemental oxygen for 4 years and always having to carry my oxygen concentrator, the day finally arrived for my first flight without it in 4 years. It all started back in 2019 after a hospital stay where they suspected I had a stroke. Turns out it was pulmonary hypertension. I was right, it was pulmonary hypertension. And I needed oxygen therapy ever since. Traveling just wasn't the same anymore. I went from chasing waterfalls in Hawaii to cozying up in snowy cabins in Leavenworth with my love to everything being so different. I dove into research determined to find a way back to traveling. That's when I stumbled upon portable oxygen concentrators. I am so confused though. You said we're going without oxygen. And is this really a good idea? Because I'm confused. I am genuinely confused because if you have pulmonary hypertension, as far as I've seen, nothing has mentioned about her taking like lifestyle changes to somehow make that better, so that's why she's trying to go without oxygen for the first time. And the thing is that you can try to go without oxygen and then just keep it as like a backup in your carry-on bag or something for emergency purposes, can't you? Can't you do that? Like, very confused about this. Why are you trying to go without oxygen if you have a medical need for it? Like, I understand how suddenly having to travel with oxygen can be hard and that be an adjustment, especially since JB loves travel. I get that. This is like 5 years of you traveling with oxygen, so I'm just wondering what the catalyst was for trying to go without. And not only that, but fine, you're trying to go without oxygen. That's not you fighting against anything but your own health issues. Like, I don't really understand how that is some sort of like it feels like it's trying to be tied to discrimination somehow, and I don't really understand that either. This whole thing just kind of confused me.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Jay, and today I'm in Las Vegas, and I'm trying something that I'm really excited about, the Fat Shack. Y'all know I'm fat. I love anything with the name fat in it, so I'm really excited to try this. I got these boneless buffalo fingers right here. I'm about to give them a try. All right. I love chicken, and I love anything spicy, so yup.
I don't know why that so yup pissed me off. And there was something about that that felt very irritating. There's something giving Amberlynn Reed vibes about this. that I think is, like, irritating me, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. I think part of it is just the, like, taste test sort of thing. I don't always hate taste tests, but a lot of the times I do because the person, like, doesn't know how to represent it at all. The Granted, I'm just not much of a food content consumer sort of thing. The only taste tests I really enjoy seeing are with dogs, where they take like all the dog friendly ones and they give their dogs different vegetables to try. I like those. On occasion, I do like taste tests of things that I'm considering buying, but I don't know, I never really got into that content.
Those are like a 8 out of 10 for sure. Yup.
Oh god, the yup. What is it about the yup that irritates the shit out of me? It's like Evelyn's, stop. Stop. Why?
All right, let me try these fries. I love a good cheese fry, y'all. Those slap. That cheese is so gooey, so warm, yummy. Last thing, I got these mozz sticks right here. Love a good mozz stick. Oh, look at that cheese pool. Yup. All right.
Alright, if she says yup one more time in the next 13 seconds, I'm stopping and we're moving on because there's something about the yup that is like causing me some irrational levels of anger and I don't really know why.
Let's dip these in the marinara. That slaps. If you're in Vegas, try the Fat Shack.
I want to hear your guys' thoughts about this taste test and review. Please. There's something about it that just I don't know. Like yes, the yup and her way of presenting things is a little irritating, but it's more than that. There's also something like just sad about it. I don't really know how to articulate it, but it's both irritating but also for some reason it's eliciting feelings of sympathy or something or pity in me and I don't fully know why that's surfacing for me.
My ordeal at SeaTac Airport will shock you. This experience I'm about to share with you is yet another example of why employee sensitivity, training, a demand outlined in the plus-size travel petition, is desperately needed. I'm a plus-size wheelchair user and on a recent flight to the SeaTac Airport, I requested wheelchair assistance, as I always do. When it came time for me to deplane, I saw the employee who would be assisting me with my wheelchair waiting for me in the entry of the jet bridge. As I approached her and she realized she'd be assisting me and not one of the smaller passengers, she started to walk away with the wheelchair while making comments about my size. Even when I told her I really needed the chair and needed her to let me sit down in it, she blatantly ignored me and kept walking. I was then forced to walk up one of the longest jet bridges I've encountered and she didn't stop. By the time she let me reach the wheelchair and sit down, my lips were white. My oxygen levels had dropped and I almost fainted. This was my first time flying without oxygen. This woman just assumed I could walk and would rather me do that, instead of her having to push someone my size up the jet bridge. All the other attendants wheeled their passengers up the jet bridge, but my needs were disregarded. This is discrimination. Nobody should be treated this way. Share your story at change.org plus.
So here's some like key things that you are missing here. Now, walking up the jet bridge asking to sit in the chair, I can understand why perhaps she should have stopped, put the brake on, let you sit down for a moment before continuing. That was an option. From her perspective, though, I can kind of see how she was nervous that she wouldn't be able to get you out of the chair and you would insist that she push you up. Because here's the thing, Jaebae, you are morbidly obese. Not everyone can push you uphill in a wheelchair. And if this was like an average sized woman or a thinner woman who may or may not have the muscle capacity to push you up the jet bridge, like she has to protect herself as well. Like this isn't necessarily about discrimination. This is potentially an issue with the airline policies where perhaps maybe there should be an option of you need wheelchair assistance and that something should mark that you are morbidly obese so that way they get someone that's stronger to be able to push you up. Maybe. I don't know if that's an option. I don't understand why you didn't have, because as far as I understand, I remember when this whole thing came out. As far as I understand, she was traveling with her boyfriend or husband or whoever that man is in her life. And he's pushed her plenty of times, so I don't understand why he couldn't push her, why you expected this woman to push you. You are so heavy that you can inflict injury simply by sitting in a wheelchair and expecting someone to push you. You can inflict injury on that person because they are pushing you uphill and you are morbidly obese and they may not have the physical capacity, the physical ability to push you up that ramp, to push you up that jet bridge. This is not discrimination. This is the logistics of the situation. You still managed to walk up the jet bridge. You didn't pass out, and from what I understand, you didn't need medical attention other than to sit down for a few minutes and take a break. This is also why not this isn't fully something I want to scold Jaebae over, but something to also consider is this is why you should probably pack oxygen in your carry-on just for emergency purposes. And genuinely, I want to, if anyone understands pulmonary hypertension, is it a good idea to travel without the oxygen? Like Nate T Dog said, discrimination is based off race, religion, and or sex. It is not based off your weight or the fact that you couldn't stop eating. This is not shocking. This is just sad on your part. People are like, I'm gonna discriminate against your ignorance, blah blah blah. This one I think is interesting. Could be the person wasn't physically able to push her. I am certain that wasn't in the job description. Level, surface, or downhill I could do, but I don't know if I would be able to up an incline. Exactly. Someone says if they couldn't physically do it, they should have respectfully let her know and call someone who could. There is no excuse for simply walking away and making comments about her body. Did she say she made comments about her body? And even if she did it from Jaebae's account, I gotta be honest, Jaebae has twisted things to make herself more of a victim that I'm not 100% sure I fully trust her recollection of things. Someone says, with a comment about her body, she said the wheelchair attendant commented on her weight. It could just be that the thing is that just commenting on her weight, the woman could have said she's too big, as in she's too big for me to push her. Like that can be a comment on her weight. So that's not like I don't know that can be something that did actually happen but was skewed in its presentation. I don't know. There's a lot about this that I just don't trust, you know?
Oh, honey, let me educate you real quick. First of all,
So before we finish listening to this, it says no, just pay for 2 seats or do some push-ups.
those seats you're worried about, they're all mine. And they were paid for by a company that values me and knows plus-size people deserve to travel comfortably just like everybody else. But let's get real. Plus-size passengers should always have the space. They need to travel comfortably without extra charges, just like the one person, one fare policy in Canada suggests. But while you're busy counting seats, I'll be over here continuing to advocate to change the status quo so everybody is treated fairly. How about that for a push-up?
Here's the thing, though, like I am of the belief that if you're taking up 2 seats, you should pay for both tickets. And this whole thing about plus size people traveling comfortably, again, it goes back to, from what I understand, air travel just isn't comfortable. And to me, this does seem like you're asking for special treatment. The vast majority of people can fit in one seat, and it's not anyone's fault that you have eaten yourself to the point of morbid obesity, to the point where you have expanded to the point where you take up 2 seats. That's no one's fault but your own. This is just, and there are people that almost always pay for the extra legroom because they are substantially taller than the average person. They can't do anything to fix that. I choose not to wear makeup, but if I did want to wear makeup, I would have to choose the far more expensive hypoallergenic brands because I'm allergic to most um, common makeup. That doesn't mean I'm being discriminated against for having sensitive skin. the person that has to pay for extra legroom isn't being discriminated against because they're tall. It's just the nature of the situation. Another thing is I have like extraordinarily high arches, right? There's a portion of my foot where there's an entire like through line that never touches the ground, right? I can slip a pencil under my foot without lifting it, um, because my arches are so high that it literally lifts the other side of my foot. So I can't do any shoe. I'm very limited in the shoes that I can wear because they have to be compatible with certain orthotics that I also have to buy whenever I get new shoes in order to have the proper amount of arch support. Having to pay more and having to pay for additional things so that way I can walk comfortably and I can go about my day with a level of comfort is not discrimination towards me. It is a situation I have to deal with that was in no way anything that I could do anything about. But it's simply the reality of the situation and it's simply what I have to deal with. You ate yourself to this point. You actively contributed to your reality, the what you have to deal with. That's no one's fault but your own. And yeah, sometimes that comes with extra costs.
After all the messages telling us to unalive ourselves because we choose to fly while fat, we've come to a decision. We are never going to fly again. LOLJK, catch us on the next flight out of here. Why would we listen to you? Can't stop, won't stop.
Uh, I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong, no one should be sending them death threats at all. 100% on board with that. Don't send people death threats just because you disagree with them or because you don't like how they live their life. I think a lot of the hate that Jaebae gets though is that she has eaten herself to this point. A lot of the problems that she has are results of her weight, and yet she complains like she's discriminated and oppressed against. And that is the issue that a lot of people have. That doesn't necessarily mean that everyone that is a hater for no reason, and it doesn't mean that all haters want her to unalive herself. That's not that she's saying that. I feel like that's the general narrative she starts to create. I'm not a huge fan of it. That being said, anyone that does send her death threats are kind of shit people, and you should not be doing that. And we're gonna do maybe 2 to 3 more videos.
First, I don't think tall people should have to
So it says, I am 6'6" and have to pay extra for more legroom. If you need more space, you pay for it. No free pass.
pay extra for seats that accommodate them either. There's a difference between paying for extra legroom solely for comfort and needing it to be safe, and fly with dignity. Why is it that when average-sized people bring up airplane seats being too small, it's valid? But when plus-sized people bring it up, they're the villain? Explain that.
So I can actually answer what I can actually answer that. Average sized people complaining about there being too small seats, it's not very comfortable. They're kind of complaining about something that everyone kind of can universally understand. Like, yeah, it's not comfortable. It kind of sucks to fly. It is what it is. It's like complaining about taxes. Yeah, it's annoying, but we have to do it. They don't equate it with a point of discrimination or oppression the way that you do. If you guys want to complain about seats being too small and you taking up two, that one you're just gonna get you've eaten yourself to the point where you take up 2 seats, right? Other people are complaining that while they can fit in a single seat, it's small and a little cramped and uncomfortable. And yeah, the um airplane companies, the travel companies are looking to squeeze every penny they can, and that's the general complaint. No one is saying though that these smaller seats are a result of discrimination against people with different body types, the way that you are. That's like the big difference right there. Right there, there it is. They don't turn it into a reason for them to be victimized the way that you do. You want to complain about seats being smaller, you're still going to get some hate because everyone has a fucking bitch fit about something or other on the internet. That's just the internet. But I think you would have fewer critics if you were just complaining about the small seats. I think it's the fact that you change it to being point of discrimination and oppression, that's why people get pissed off at you and why you have more critics than the average person does.
Let's get something.
So she's responding to a comment that says, "You don't deserve anything. You're the size of 3 people, so you pay for 3 seats. Simple."
Straight. Access to public transportation, including air travel, is a civil right. That means plus-size people do deserve to travel comfortably and without discrimination. It's not about entitlement, it's about basic human rights. Everybody should be able to fly safely and comfortably just as they are. And let's address the common misconception, my extra seats are always paid for. Doesn't mean I agree that plus-size people should have to pay more. Because
So I think that she is fundamentally misunderstanding something. That it being a civil right to have access to public transportation, if we're talking in line of the Montgomery bus boycotts, when Black people were forced to sit at the back of the bus as a way to relegate them, and they were expected to give up their seat for white people at the front of the when they're towards the front of the bus. Like, that is treating people unequally, right? That is a portion of discrimination. Denying anyone access to those services for anything that is inherent to who they are: sex, religion, gender, race, all of those things. That's where the discrimination comes in. You have full access, and you have reasonable accommodations, such as paying for 2 seats, that would allow you to travel as anyone else would. That is not discrimination, and I don't want to hear this bitch fit about comfort, because you're not necessarily entitled to comfort. You're entitled to equal treatment, which is what you get.
I don't think we should have to pay more for the space that we physically need. Your comment that implies I don't deserve anything because I'm fat is exactly why I'm fighting. I'm fighting so other plus-size people don't have to deal with your negativity and discrimination. We all deserve respect and dignity regardless of size. It's time the airline industry recognized this and took steps to ensure it. Here's a powerful reminder as we strive for a more equitable and inclusive world. Let us remember that mobility is not a privilege but a basic human right that must be available, affordable, accessible, and safe for all.
So, accessible and safe for all is correct. Affordable is debatable. Affordable, in terms of air travel, especially when you're traveling for leisure, is more of a privilege. Like, if you have to travel for your job should be paying it. That's like a whole thing that can be discussed. But when it comes to affordable travel for leisure, I don't know about that. Like, that seems like a bit of a stretch to me. But I would like to hear your guys' opinion on that. There's just something about this that, yes, no, when they're saying that you don't deserve anything, they're saying that you don't deserve special treatment, that you aren't entitled to more simply because you ate yourself to this point. That's not what anyone agrees with at all, the way that you are advocating for it. This "you don't deserve anything" means that you don't deserve special treatment, not that you don't deserve to fly. Just that if you have to pay for the extra seat because you consume extra space, that is a natural trade-off for eating yourself to this point. And with that, I actually think that we're going to end the video for today. I do want to talk about something real quick. All right, so I have been reading many, many series. I've been catching up on everything this reincarnated into the antagonist's maid. Here's the thing about it that I'm like feeling a little bit. So she was originally from our world, played Otome game. She loved the protagonist. He is the antagonist, and when she was sucked into this world, she's his maid, right? Fine on the surface. The character is supposed to be in his 20s, so is she, so it seems fine. But when she's pulled into this world, he is 6 years old, and this is marketed as a romance. So there's a 15-year age gap, and I'm like, please tell me that what I'm hoping for is that there's going to be some sort of time jump when he's older that maybe she doesn't experience those 15 years, and so it ends up kind of evening out. It's hard because I like the characters, but the story, this idea of, like, becoming the maid that he bonds with as a child and then becoming a romantic interest later is a little ick for me. And I'm having a hard time reconciling that. I've only read the free chapters. I've been kind of hesitant to dive deep into this, simply because I don't know, I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. My hot harem has turned cold on me is still as entertaining as it could be. The Count's Secret Maid is progressing nicely, and she's actually been called pretty, which was a big point, like a new thing for her. Ooh, The Dying Villainess's Path to a Happy Ending. This one's gotten really interesting because her fiance that she had been kind of entered into a contractual relationship with, fully expecting the relationship to end when she died. He thought that she was just gonna, like, leave. He didn't realize that she was gonna die. He just found out that she's in fact going to die, and he has some feelings about that, which we are about to head into, and I'm really looking forward to the next chapter. Taming the Marquise is a very sweet romance. I'm really enjoying it. Let's see. A lot of these I haven't been reading much. The Empress Wants to Avoid the Emperor is, and it has been chugging along, but it's entertaining as always. It's a good series. Look Here, Demon Lord. I so regret, like, bulk buying this. I put this into, like, one of those picker wheels, and that's the one that I ended up on. There's 50 chapters total. I'm on chapter 23. I'm not even halfway through it. It's kind of hard to get through because it's not well written. The characters aren't nearly as interesting as I thought that they would be. I so regret bulk buying this series, and it was a little bit of a lesson learned. It's part of the reason why I'm hesitant to buy chapters of this now, because I'm so disappointed. I'm gonna fucking read through it though because I bought it, but I'm disappointed with it. I Became the Villain's Mother is almost at its end, I think. It's very sweet. I Became the Tyrant's Dishonest Advisor. It felt like we hit a peak in the story. Not I have a feeling that it's still, we haven't reached its, like, true peak yet, but it felt like we hit a very important plot point recently, and we're heading towards, like, the final act. My Husband Who Hates Me Has Lost His Memories has, like, had some good wrap ups. I'm really enjoying that. How to Reject My Obsessive Ex-Husband is doing well. I Will Not Return to My Family. Like, I'm gonna finish reading it, but I it felt like we kind of hit the climax of the story, even though it hasn't ended, even though it's been, like, several chapters since that climax. And it didn't feel like a satisfying peak to the story, unless something else is gonna come along. But right now, it just seems like a bunch of after story shit that just won't let the story end. And I'm not thrilled with it. I'm not enjoying this nearly as much as I originally was. It feels like it's kind of floundering. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think that's about all we're at for right now. So I'm going to leave this here. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.